Today I'm reviewing a Makita long pole edge trimmer. I've used a couple of different models and this one came up with some good reviews, although I did read a couple of negatives on the drive for the blade attachment at the end, so we'll kind of cover that in the review. And I also have a two-stroke for comparison. In this particular model I was quite interested in getting a four-stroke, saving on having to use mixing canisters and the faff of getting two-stroke fuel mixed together. The business end, we have the Makita MM4. It's like a mini motor four-stroke petrol engine, which is meant to be, I say quiet, I don't think they're ever really quiet, but quieter than the two-stroke. However, I'll show a comparison of that later on in the video. In the box we have, I'll take these bits out, bag with optional shoulder strap. Put this down there. Comes with handle, some oil to get you started with. Interestingly, it's 10W40, although the manual, when I read it, recommends 10W30, but we'll go with this for now. That's it. Tools to assemble, so Allen key, sockets, screwdriver for adjustments. We have the cutting head and the case to protect it. Instructions and the main body of the strimmer and the drive pole itself. So pop these down. Move this out of the way. Okay, so the features that we've got, not too many. I'd recommend just reading the manual through quickly, but petrol, unleaded, goes in here. Choke here. It's pretty much just a choke switch, so it's either choke on or off. There's not really any graduation. I understand that these are quite good engines and pretty good for starting, so I don't know if we're going to need to use that too much. We're not in that colder an environment. Around the other side we have here the oil fill, so I have actually already pre-filled this one. Minimum, maximum levels on the outside. Just make sure it's level on the ground when you start to fill it up. But oil cap opens up here. And I used the standard oil, or the Makita oil that came with it. That's the stop switch. Flick it up for starting position. Lock, and then I guess the throttle effectively, but that's what will drive the blades. When it comes, it should come with the cap off of the spark plug. It's usually recommended when storing it, particularly over like Christmas or winter time. Drain the fuel, drain the oil, take the cap off, and then give it a good service before you start using it again. So I'll pop the rubber cap back on. It's just a push fit, that should click into place. So next thing, we'll start to assemble the parts that came with it. So handle wise, you'll read in the instructions just to put the handle forward of these arrows. This is fixed, so there's not a huge range to choose from, but anywhere between here and here. The silver part goes inside the top plastic retainer. That fits on top of the plastic handle here. And then we have this black piece with the screw threads for the bolts. Goes underneath. So 2 bolts in here and Allen key. So put these together. Just get those started and then we can tighten them with the Allen key. So in terms of distance, just try and make sure that that's not twisted. Keep it pretty straight. And then we can tighten these up. Okay, those are fairly tight. Don't want to over tighten them, but at the same time we don't want the handle to slip, so that's pretty good. So between these two tools, they pretty much do everything and fit every nut bolt on the hedge trimmer. If there's anything that doesn't fit these, then it's probably best left for a service centre. Now, next part of the construction, you may recall earlier that I mentioned a couple of reviews complaining about the head drive not always working. I think that's partly into the construction. So, having read the manual, you'll be told to loosen this nut or bolt here, and then this bolt on the underside. So this one, you'll want to loosen this one quite a lot. You can't really see, but in the end, this bolt actually sticks through. This one just tightens a clasp around this pole. So that hole has the bottom bolt from the head actually needs to go through that hole. So you can probably see just here, the first couple of times it was put in, that was catching on the bolt, so it wasn't fully engaging the splined head into the spline shaft into the head to drive it correctly. So what was happening was the head was driving the blades when the blades were on a flat angle, and as soon as you changed the angle of the blades, it lost drive quite quickly. And I've seen a couple of reviews that point out issues with the blades not driving properly. So I'm wondering if it is down to the construction or how it's put together, and that bit not really being mentioned in the manual. So if we go ahead and put the head on, you might need to twist it a little bit just to engage the splines in the right place. And if you see on this bit here, you just want to check that this has come down far enough. It's quite easy to put this on, as I found out the first couple of times, and be able to tighten these up without actually engaging the drive, like the spline drive shaft correctly. So we'll tighten at the bottom nut. So you might need to wiggle this a little bit just to make sure that it actually gets into the hole properly. But then you should be able to tighten it fully. That's one thing to be careful of. So that now should be in place properly. It is possible not to have this far enough down and be able to tighten these up, and it will keep the head in place, but you won't get the drive properly. Hence wanting to make this video just to point that out, because the first time I assembled this, it did actually waste quite a lot of time. Right, so again, no need to over tighten these, but just make sure that this is on solidly, but that should be firmly in place now. The last thing to attach, which I understand is optional, but the safety strap, which does come in handy. So clip this onto here, and then you've got this quick release clip and unclip, so you don't actually have to keep taking the strap off your shoulders, which I find quite annoying on other models. So this is pretty handy. So around here we've got the bulb for priming, and you can see there's already fuel in here. If this is empty, you need to push between 7 and 10 times just to get this primed and start getting the fuel through. So I'm going to give this one press. It's been off for a while. Make sure the switch is in the on position, and then we'll give this a pull, and we should start. Yeah. And flick the switch down to shut off. I will cover some of the features on the heads now with a comparison to a two-stroke model that I have, which I shall go and get now. So lengthwise, pretty much comparable, not much in it at all. Both long poles, so we've got reasonably high hedges where we are, and if I can avoid it, I try not to use a step ladder, hence getting one of these. The 90-degree or the angle function on the top is invaluable. I'll show you those a little bit in a minute. The Makita one actually is, I think it's a lot better, a lot more usable, but you'll see why. Firstly, I was just going to show a comparison between the noise of the 2-stroke versus the 4-stroke. 4-stroke is meant to be quieter. Like I mentioned before, I think I wouldn't ever say that they're massively quiet, but I do think it is actually a bit quieter. So let's try and get both of these started up, one after the other, so you can see the difference. Get that one primed. It's pretty much the same procedure for starting on both of these. Probably sometimes find you need a bit more choke on the 2-stroke, but so pretty noisy. Not that the other one's usually quiet, but I do think it's quieter, and I'll give this one a go. So when in use, I think both are pretty noisy, but when idling, definitely I think the 4-stroke's quieter. Now we'll have a look at the head features, or the trimming heads. So blades pretty similar. Depth between the blades also quite similar. I think they do up to about a 20mm branch, is what they say. I haven't really found that either do 20mm branch all in one go, but if you keep at it, they'll get through it. Both have a lock, so this is adjusted, pulling down, and you're up to a 90-degree adjustment in one direction. This one I find pretty awkward, simply because when you're holding the handle, the 90-degree adjustment kind of comes behind you, so then you end up having to turn the whole machine around. That makes the handle grip particularly difficult, so you're trying to squeeze the trigger for the throttle, and it's kind of the other way around from how you actually want it, but it does work and it does do the job. So I'll put this back, it's locked in place. So Makita, again, this one's adjustable. One of the reasons for buying this is it is adjustable in both directions. So pull down the red lock, and then this one, for me anyway, I think this actually bends in the correct direction, so you can still use the trigger, and the top of the hedge is actually in front of you. You don't have to rotate the device around to get your 90 degrees. Then it does go on both of them. There's varying gradations, so you can angle it. I think there's about 12 different settings, but on this one it also angles the other way, and for easier storage actually folds 180 degrees back around on itself. So not essential for cutting, but takes up a little less space in the garage. So now we're going to give it a bit of a test. I've already started cutting the hedge, or massacring it maybe, as you can see. We'll just show the 90 degree kind of head action and a couple of other bits.
to mention on this are little couple of points on blade maintenance. For the blades themselves, recommended just to put some light machine oil, which you can find, just Google exactly that, light machine oil, and give them a little bit of a coating after every few uses, just to keep those lubricated. If you check in the manual, but on here, the Allen key that comes with it will loosen and tighten these bolts, and that's what determines how close the blades sit together. So if they're too tight, these will get really hot and you'll wear the blades quickly. If they're too loose, they'll clatter around and they won't cut as well. So it's recommended that you tighten these so that they are tight, and then back a quarter turn, and then you can tighten up the locking nut on the top, again with the tool that comes provided from the Makita kit. Pretty much everything fits on here, so this is what you need. The last two bits that you need to think about, I think it's roughly every 25 cuts. This bit here, where you've got this like a little grease gun indicator, open up this, and this greases the gears, the gearbox in here, so you can see a little bit of grease in there as it came kind of from new, but it tells you just to top that up with around, I think it was 5 grams, but check in the manual, of grease every 25 or so cuts. What it doesn't say in the manual is what grease to use. So if you look for a GP0 grease, just if you Google it, but it will come up and it will be recommended for various different brands of garden appliance machinery, hedge trimmers, and all sorts that need some lubrication. The second place is in here, again indicated by a little grease gun symbol. So you just want to undo these, squeeze in your grease, and check that those remain lubricated, and it should last for a good long time. Okay, so that pretty much brings us to the end of the review. Hope you found some of that useful. One thing I didn't think about in terms of weight, which one is heavier, and it's not a huge amount in it. Definitely the 4-stroke is heavier. Neither of them are overly light machines, but in terms of its usability, I definitely find the Makita with the flexible head a lot easier to use. So I'm going to put this one away, put the blade guard on, and fold it up to storage. That's it. Hope you found it useful, and thanks for watching. Feel free to like it if you thought it was useful. It'd be good to know. Thanks.